February 6, 1952. Treetops Lodge, Kenya. Elizabeth is watching the sunrise. Philip walks into the room. He has news, the worst kind. Her father is dead. She is 25 years old. In a single breath, everything changes. Her life becomes the crown. His becomes a question without an answer. The naval officer he loved being, gone. The future they imagined, gone. He would never walk beside her as an equal again. He was now the husband of the Queen. That is where this story begins. Act 1. The Dartmouth Spark. To understand that moment, we must go back to a summer when everything was still possible. July 1939, the Royal Naval College at Dartmouth. The King and Queen arrive with their 2 daughters. And there he is, Prince Philip of Greece, 18 years old, tall, blonde, quietly amused by everything. He moves with a freedom Elizabeth has never known. Her world is sheltered routine. His is open sea. She is 13 years old. She cannot stop watching him. He plays with a toy train set, then grows bored. He suggests croquet, calls it a filthy, vicious game. He jumps over tennis nets with easy grace. She follows him with her eyes. The royal yacht prepares to leave. The cadets take to the water to wave it off. Most turn back when ordered. One does not. Philip rows on alone, against the current. He chases the ship until he is a speck on the water. Elizabeth raises a pair of field glasses. She watches him until he disappears. The first letters come during the war. He writes from HMS Valiant. At the Battle of Matapan, his hand holds the searchlight steady. His crew survive because of him. His name is mentioned in dispatches, and with every letter her certainty grows. She places his photograph on her mantelpiece at Buckingham Palace. She is already decided. He visits Windsor. He brings the scent of the sea. They dance to the gramophone. He holds her around the waist. She feels for the first time like herself. By the summer of 1946, it is settled. A quiet proposal at Balmoral. Scottish heather. A yes, without hesitation. The king gives his blessing, but asks for patience. Not everyone is pleased. The courtiers whisper. He has no fortune, no proper name. But for Elizabeth, there was never anyone else. Act 2. The Bargain. The engagement is announced in July 1947. A court circular, matter of fact. But the price had already been agreed. To marry the heiress presumptive, Philip paid dearly. He renounced his Greek and Danish titles. He became Lieutenant Philip Mountbatten. He was naturalised as a British subject. The foreign prince was being unmade and remade. The wedding that November was a flash of colour in grey post-war London. Norman Hartnell's ivory silk gown, a 15-foot train, crowds desperate for a fairy tale. But behind the splendour, quiet surrenders. His naval career, the place where he was judged on merit, over. He moved into Buckingham Palace. One observer called it a gold cage. The courtiers were cold. They saw an outsider with no fortune and no history. The bitterest blow came later. Philip asked that his family take his name. The House of Mountbatten. Churchill refused. Lascelles refused. The House of Windsor would endure. Philip was incandescent. "I am the only man in the country," he said, "not allowed to give his name to his own children." He called himself a bloody amoeba. The wound was deep. It never fully healed. He tried to find usefulness. He modernized the household staff. He introduced new training, reviewed old systems. The old guard resisted him at every turn. But there were good years too. Clarence House, 2 children, Charles in 1948, Anne in 1950. He was a hands-on father. He read stories. He bathed them himself. And then Malta. A posting in 1949. Elizabeth joined him as a naval wife. He had command of HMS Magpie. For a few months they were almost ordinary. Parties, the Mediterranean, shopping with other officers' wives, their happiest time. But the king was failing. They were summoned home. "That's that," Philip said to his friend Mike Parker. The door to his old life closed for good. Act 3. The New Constellation. The king died in February 1952, and Philip's world contracted around him. He was told clearly, keep out. No access to the red boxes, no seat at the table of state. "I had to support the Queen," he said later, without getting in the way. He threw himself into patronages, committees, good works. He chaired the Coronation Commission. But the frustration was always there, just beneath the surface. The final symbol came on June 2nd, 1953, Westminster Abbey, the coronation. Elizabeth was anointed alone, St. Edward's crown placed upon her head. Then Philip knelt before her, in Admiral's uniform. He placed his hands between hers. "I become your liege man of life and limb." His voice was steady. He rose, he touched her crown, he kissed her cheek. Then he stepped back. That step back was everything. The sun was Elizabeth now. He was a planet in her orbit. His own light, still bright, now reflected. He made wry jokes on the royal tours. He asked difficult questions, challenged old customs. He was doing his best. But the man who had once commanded a ship now had to bite his tongue. He had very little authority of his own. He had chosen service, and service had consumed him. The unanswered question. By 1953, the transformation was complete. The price was fully paid. The naval officer was gone. In his place stood a man still learning what he was. A husband, a father, a consort, but not yet at peace. History would be kind to Philip eventually. It would recognize what he gave up. It would understand the cost, but that reckoning was still a long way off. For now, he walked 2 steps behind. He smiled when required. He served where he could, and he kept his private griefs private. But not everything could stay private. By 1955, rumours were circulating that the palace could not ignore, and Philip was at the centre of them.